All right. Thanks everyone for waiting. Welcome again, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. So I'll get straight into it. So today I'm going to be talking about Zoho One for every business need. And this is the fifth session in our 5-part series, our how to webinar series focusing on your business website basics. So, yeah, we've had 4 really good weeks of content, and I'll go over the series so far in a little bit. So, the agenda today, I'll talk a bit about Zoho and then I'll cover the series so far. Then we'll talk about Zoho One um, as it relates to your business website basics and the sort of the rest of the series. And then I'll take you through some customer stories. And then at the end, we'll do some questions as well at the end. And I'll send you, some more links that are in the handouts as well. So, if you don't know, Zoho is a software as a service company. We've been around for 24 years and we have over 8,000 employees across the world. And over that time, we've released over 50 different applications. And we have over 45 million users across the world. And that's probably, I think it's over 50 now. And all that time, we've been private, completely bootstrapped, and profitable as well. And one thing I like to point out, you think it would be obvious, but in today's society, we like to make it clear that we don't own your data. So you own your data, we'll never sell your data, and we'll never do advertisements inside the products, even the free versions of our applications. This is relevant for as well. So just a quick poll to get an idea of who has seen the previous webinars in this series. So if you just click on one of those, that would be awesome. Okay, a few of you have attended a couple of them. The same amount of you, this is your first one. Okay, so no one's been to all of them. That's all right. That's good. You'll learn some new things today then. Okay, and so most of you, this is your first one. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. And we're definitely keen to do more of these in the future. Cool. Thanks for answering that, everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the series so far in case you haven't been to any of the sessions in the past. So for the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about our business website basics. We've covered domain and web hosting, your establishing your brand story and voice, elements of design, and also converting your visitors to leads. And throughout the series, we've tried to keep it really educational so that if you are using Zoho, you get a lot out of it, but also if you're not using Zoho, you can still get something out of it. And so today, along the way in the series, we've touched on a few of the applications that Zoho has, but today I'd like to go a bit deeper into Zoho One. So another quick poll, I just want to get an idea of your familiarity with Zoho One and sort of like why you are here today. Okay, so a lot of you use Zoho One and would like to learn more. Some of you use some of the Zoho apps. Okay, cool. So most of you are using Zoho One. That's great. And then actually, I'll show the result to everyone if you want to see that. Cool. That's really good to know. Thanks everyone for filling that out. So if you haven't heard of Zoho One, this is a good slide to sort of break down how it works. Also, I should mention that I am recording this in case you will get the recording afterwards as well. So on this slide, you can see down the bottom, we have all of the applications, and these are available as standalone apps, or you can purchase them in bundles. And the bundles are in the middle, the platforms. So things like Zoho Workplace or Finance Plus, we call these our platforms, and they're basically smaller bundles of selected applications. And then at the top, you can see we have Zoho One, and that is the operating system for business. And we call it that because within Zoho One, we have applications to run your marketing, your sales and support, productivity, collaboration, your finance, HR, communication, and more. And we do have some really good webinars going a lot deeper into the back end of Zoho One, where we discuss the 3 layers approach, being apps at the top, services in the middle, and the platform of Zoho One at the bottom. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time to go into that today, but if you're interested, you can find those webinars linked in the handout as well. Just a quick question. Someone said, do you have links to your recordings of your past sessions? Yeah, we can send you those links for sure. I might put them in the email at the end, or one of my colleagues will post them soon. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this entire series has been focused on your business website basics. And we've covered parts of all of these things above. So some talking about some of your social media, your website, newsletters, and support. So I wanted to go over some of the applications that you may use in this flow. Now I'm just going to switch my screen. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so you can see here we've landed on a website. So if you imagine that you saw a post on social media and it sent you to this website, you can see from landing on the website, we have a bunch of different, pieces of information here. We can see we have some call to actions. We have a contact page. There's some more CTAs down the bottom here. We have an inquiry form. And at the bottom, we have a newsletter sign. Sorry, everyone. I think my home internet is just struggling today. I hope you didn't miss too much, so I'll keep moving on. So it's really good. What I was saying about the CTAs and the chatbot and the newsletter is that it's great that we know we're going to be able to get extra information from this company, and we can trust that this company will support us as well throughout our journey with them. So you can see just from looking that this company sells surfboards. They sell custom surfboards and they sell wholesale surfboards. So just from the start, we can see that there's a few different sides to this business. The first side being custom surfboards, which would probably involve a lot more project management, as these are hand shaped. So someone would need to shape these from hand. And then if we click on the custom order form here, you can see this form here. And this was actually made using Zoho Forms and embedded onto this website. This is Zoho site. And you can also use the Forms module within CRM, but if you want something a bit more robust and customizable, Zoho Forms is great. And you can see we have 3 different sections here. At the end, you can take a deposit. I can't access that because we would need to fill all of this information in, but we don't need to for the purposes today. So then the second side would be the wholesale side. And that's a little bit different because they would need to work with the retailers directly. And this probably involves something like keeping an inventory, stock levels updated. So you can see we've got another inquiry form here. And so you, as the visitor to this website, may not be thinking about the different systems required for these separate processes, but whoever is running the business will need to make sure these things work well separately. So then we have the contact us page, and you can see it sort of makes a lot of sense. It's a standard contact us page. And then again, when we go to the bottom of the page, we have a newsletter sign up form, which is great because you are able to build out brand loyalty. And it's really actually one of the only forms of marketing that the customer signs up to receive. So you know that the people who have signed up there are there because they want to hear what you have to say. And that's sort of the core of it. As a customer, when you get to a website, you don't really want to think about it. You just want it to be easy to figure out the point of the website. And that is what the business offers, looking at their offerings, finding their social media. We can see we've got these handy links up here as well so that you don't actually have to go to this page. So this site is pretty easy to navigate. And now another example I've got of a website that you may land on after clicking on a social media link or even a referral or something else is Leave IT to Us. And immediately you can get a good idea of what they're selling. So it's IT security so that you don't have to think about it. You can see we've got a contact page. We've got a newsletter sign up form as well. So over and over, we are being prompted to talk to these companies and start the journey from like lead to cash sort of thing. So if we go to the services page, we can get a good idea of what they are offering us as a customer. Employee support, security, network management. We've got some pricing um, tabs down there as well. And then when we go to the security page, we are given a lot more information um, of what they're going to offer. We can see a few links to the blogs. And down here, we can see a contact form. So even though this is not a contact page, say you're on this website, you're reading through the security page, you come down here and you go, oh, that's pretty relevant, or I'm interested in this, I'll just fill out this form. So um, as the customer, we can be assured that what we've seen on this page, that the business will take care of us. So there's also another chatbot down here as well. I'll just close that. Excuse me. So both of these websites we've seen have a very different approach. So OzShapes is more of a laid back feel with obviously different language and imagery used. And then Leave IT to Us obviously has to be a bit more professional if they're going to convince um, their customers to trust them with their IT security. So one really cool thing about this page is if you click on the support tab, you'll see that this has opened an entirely new web page. And that is because in the back end, this page here is actually run by Zoho Desk. And you can see that in the URL there. And then there's another chatbot here. So we can ask them any questions. And the point of Zoho Desk is instead of having to duplicate all of this sort of information, you can see this knowledge base here. So instead of having all of that in Zoho Desk and then having to put that on the website as well, we've actually synced the website with Zoho Desk so that we can store the information there, but it's easily found on the website. And so immediately this page is asking us to search the knowledge base, ask the community, or submit a ticket. And say we start typing IT or something like that, we can see these knowledge base articles pop up. And you can sort of think of this as a bit of an FAQ section. So obviously a lot of people ask these questions, so the business has chosen to add them here. That way, when a customer needs some support and starts typing a question into this bar or clicks on the knowledge base, these relevant articles will show up, hopefully prompting that customer to, read the article and find a solution there rather than messaging the support and just being told the same thing anyway. And then we also have some community forums, which are a really great way to connect your customers with each other. You may have noticed that in some businesses, the forum articles offered by the company are sometimes not as good as those offered by its customers or those started by its customers. And I think that's really useful to get other users' perspectives and can create a sense of community as well. So there are a few brands that I buy from um, regularly, and they have community forums, whether it be on their website or on Facebook. And I find that that's a really good way to get information about their products instead of just asking the business. A business, while we often care about our customers a lot, and, you know, the end goal is sort of to make money from your customers. So, yeah. So going back to the main page, um, if we click on the contact page, we have this form again. And remember, we've already seen this a few times, but it's here again so we can sort of easily access it. So this is just two examples of how a customer can land on a website from social media or some other form of marketing, a web search, or a referral from another customer. And they can be funneled effectively through the things that the company actually wants them to know. And in both cases, there have been lots of opportunities for the customer to either purchase or give their information to the business. And that's sort of the main point. And I'll go back to the slides here. Cool. So behind the scenes, that was done with just 5 applications. Well, actually, sorry, 6, because one of them was Zoho Forms, which I just realized that this morning that it was a Zoho Forms form, and haven't added it here yet. But as you know, us as the customer, we maybe wouldn't think about all of these separate applications needed to run this flow, because to us it seemed like a sort of seamless transition or funnel through to the main goal, which was for us to purchase something or contact the business. So we have Zoho Social here, which is, I didn't show you, but it's where, maybe you would have seen a social post that had led you to the website. Zoho Sites is where you saw all of the information, the website about the business, and you could purchase or contact. Then we have Zoho Campaigns, which is the application that facilitated the newsletter sign up form on the website. And then we have Zoho Desk, which you saw was the knowledge base and support portal that we looked at as well. So again, I mentioned Zoho Forms, which is a really easy drag and drop form builder. And then, of course, down the bottom, we have the CRM, which is where all of this custom information is sort of flows through to and is stored in your one centralized sort of hub or database. So just to break down these apps a little bit, starting with the CRM, the number one reason you would use a CRM is to collect your basic contact information of your customers, of your leads, or your accounts. And like I said, all of the contact forms that we were seeing were being sent straight to the CRM. So when you eventually go to contact your customers, you have all of their information centralized within the CRM. And then you can continue to update that information as you get more information from the particular lead or the customer. Then you can also use the CRM to trigger certain sales processes. And this is really good if you have multiple people running your sales. So you can have certain things trigger actions or tasks for other people. And I'll talk about that a little later on when I go over some customers. And then we have Zoho Social. So if you're running a business by yourself, um, then you may understand this. So I've worked in a small business before where I was trying to manage all of the aspects of marketing, including running the website, blogging, newsletters, managing customer relationships, running events, all while being on shift and having to actually attend to the customers and be a salesperson and even managing other staff and multiple contractors, which can be really hectic. And I'm sure many of you are also wearing multiple hats in your businesses. So when I was having a really busy day, and maybe this is the same for you, what is the first thing to go? For me, that was the social media. So Zoho Social can help you plan your social media posts in advance. Sometimes you'd end up having a super quiet day where it seemed like people sort of forgot you existed or no one emailed you. So on those days, I would be able to smash out some content for a month or a few months worth of posts and put them all in Zoho Social to just be to just roll out over the next month or two. Now, they may not even, they may not be the most targeted posts, but you can always change them as the month goes on and add in sort of relevant day-to-day information. So yeah, scheduling posts is the main thing here. And then, of course, you can save all of those contacts in the CRM as well. So then Zoho Sites. We obviously showed you some Zoho Sites websites. Now, it's a really easy to use drag and drop website builder. And you can choose from a lot of templates and just go from there. So obviously you should change the photos and the content to make it your own, but you could literally only do that and just, work with the template that you chose, and it would look like a really good, fully built out, mobile friendly website. And that's a really important thing here, is that these sites are mobile friendly. I think it's something like 60 or 70% or maybe more of people shop and search on their mobile now. So having a mobile friendly site is super important. You can also manage your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, which is basically the equivalent of having your brick and mortar store on a very busy street. So if your SEO is really well managed, you're going to get more people to your site. moving on from SEO, you can also draw your visitors in with a blog. So it's really useful for anyone who works in a specialty business. I used to work at a float center, which is, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's basically like a huge bath that you float in because it's filled with 500 kilos of magnesium sulfate or Epsom salt. But obviously, that's a very strange and new concept for a lot of people. And one of the ways we got people to learn about it was through our blog. And so people would search keywords, our blog would pop up, and they would get sent to our website. And we actually got a lot of visitors through people doing that. So that can be really important for you as well. I definitely recommend trying to write a blog if you're not already. Um, yeah, and then of course you can save those leads straight to the CRM from the website as well. So then we have Zoho Campaigns, and that is our email marketing tool. You can send out email campaigns and also newsletters to your subscribers. You can send them sort of targeted information or special offers, and you can also target return customers. So it's often easier to sell a product to a customer who has already purchased from you before. That's not to say that you should forget about your new customers because they may eventually turn into return customers, but it's a really important thing to be able to do. And then you can also target with the CRM. So, depending on the information you collect and store in the CRM, you can target specific subsets of people using that information. For example, like females or males. Maybe if you have a skincare line, you want to target more females, or people who live in a 10-kilometer radius of a certain suburb, things like that. So then we have Zoho Desk. And the main thing that isn't on here is that Desk helps you manage your support tickets. So if a customer has a problem, they can come to your website and let you know. Or if they send you an email, you can turn that into a support ticket as well. So then, like we mentioned before, you can add information to the knowledge base. You can create community forums so that your customers can interact and sort of like do your job for you a little bit. And it's also really nice hearing from other customers as a customer yourself. And then, of course, there's the CRM integration with Desk as well. So all Desk tickets are shown in the CRM file of that customer. And this is really helpful because your sales team will be able to see if there are any issues or questions that the customer had. So, like I mentioned before, this was done using just 5 or 6 applications, including Zoho Desk. And I see a few questions there. Oh, cool. My colleagues Annika and Lauren are getting to those. So, yeah. So, this was done using 5 or 6 apps, and it sounds like a lot, and it sort of is a lot. And that's why we definitely recommend starting with only one or a few Zoho applications to begin with. Unless you have like multiple people who can put aside time to work on implementing them for you, or if you hire a Zoho partner, like one of our customers did that I'm going to talk about next. So, if you're just getting started with Zoho One, I would say ask yourself the question, what do I need to do right now? And then start with that. So, for most of the people that I've talked with, that has been the CRM. For others, if you're already using the CRM within Zoho One, I know most of you are already using Zoho One. So you can ask yourself the question, what is the next thing that's important for me? And that might be marketing or finance. So whatever it is for you, I would suggest starting there. And then that will just trickle down the line. Once you've done that, you can move on to the next thing and the next thing. So these 5 applications are, a lot, but it's actually a pretty small part of Zoho One and Zoho One's capabilities. And there's a lot that we've done with that. So whatever you need, Zoho One has the tools that can support you. And it's also really good integrating with most third-party tools. And I'm about to go into some real customer stories so you can see what I mean there as well. So the 2 customers I'd like to talk about today are Pedleys Solar and Inform Ag. And these are 2 customers that I've been working closely with, writing case studies about them. So starting with Pedleys Solar, I spoke with the owner, Aaron Ware, a few months ago, And Pedleys Solar is a residential and commercial solar power solution and repair company based in Brisbane, servicing all up and down the East Coast. So the key apps they're using within Zoho One are CRM, Analytics, Meetings, Sign, and Forms. And they have 23 users all using Zoho One. And they actually used a Zoho partner to set up the automation within the CRM. And one of the biggest Zoho accomplishments that Aaron spoke about, and if you go to this case study, you'll see that's the main quote on the page, is this top quote. We really saw growth in the start of 2019 when we ramped up our use of Zoho One, and this year we're on track to turn over 20 million. So that's huge. And if you read the case study, you'll see that when he first bought the business in 2016, they were just running off spreadsheets and they sort of had nothing in place. They weren't using a system. Leads weren't getting nurtured. They were just getting lost. So, yeah, that's just really important to note. And another thing is that they still use ServiceMate, which is a third party app, and also Xero, which is an accounting app. So they use those apps that integrate with Zoho One. So, because Pedleys has such a strong automation within the CRM, I'd like to focus on that a little bit. So, the automation that they have set up in the CRM is basically what you see on the screen. So, every new lead is assigned to a sales manager, depending on the location, the lead source, and the business size. Certain relevant tasks are then automatically created for that salesperson. The customer immediately receives a sort of set of automated emails, and the CRM tracks how many times the customer is called. Lead is ready to have solar installed, whether they're still building their house, whether they're just looking, or they're not interested. That's all tracked as well. And if the lead is just looking, this is recorded and automatically a follow up is scheduled as well. So then they also have the stage linked with ServiceMate. So if the client was ready, that would get sent to ServiceMate and they would know, the installation team would know to schedule an assessment. They also creating deals triggers another set of tasks. So follow-up calls, signing contracts, and then the actual physical installation of their product. So some other apps that they are using, as opposed to just the CRM, is analytics. So they use analytics to analyze their business data, to gain insight about leads and deals, to monitor internal activities, and to basically track every aspect of their sales cycle so they can actually make some data-driven decisions. During COVID, while we were in lockdown, they used Zoho Meeting to stay connected while working remotely. They used Zoho Sign to digitally sign and digitally send and receive signatures on client contracts. They also used Zoho Forms as a way to track their customer referrals. So in the case that a customer has introduced another client to Pedleys Solar, that first customer can enter their details and receive a referral credit. And Pedleys also plans to roll out the use of inventory in the future. So the good thing about Zoho One, like I mentioned before, is that you don't actually need to throw yourself into the deep end. You can just add things on. And that's the case with the next customer as well. So the next customer is Inform Ag, and they are an agricultural engineering and IT solution company founded in 2012, and they have 11 full-time staff, all using Zoho One for almost a year now. And just to give you some background, Inform Ag provides software to automatically manage irrigation and spraying on farms. They have real-time analysis of crops using drone and LiDAR technology, and they have their own software that they've developed, and they sell that to farmers across Australia. And they also offer training and support with that. So, just from this little bit of information, you can begin to understand that there are multiple really important processes in their business, like there would be for yours, that needs an app or system to help them run. And from Inform Ag, I spoke with the founder, Jen, the managing director, Steve, and also the operations manager, Jared. And if we talk about Inform Ag pre Zoho, they were using a number of applications to run several aspects of their business. So they were using Monday.com for project management, Harvest for time tracking, Pipedrive for their CRM system, Expensify to manage their employee expenses. They were using Spokephone as their telephony system. They were using Zendesk to manage their customer support, Slack as an internal chat channel, and also Xero for their accounting. And you can see there are a lot of different applications here that are not really talking to each other because they're all sold by separate vendors. And one of the things that Steve actually said to me, and I quote, is Jared drew all of the apps we were using on a whiteboard, and it was a spiderweb tangle that Spider-Man himself couldn't get out of. And I just think that's sort of hilarious and pretty interesting because in my past roles, I've definitely worked with something that looks sort of like this. We like to call it um, sort of integration Frankenstein with everything sort of like not working together. It just all looks a little bit crazy. And so they moved to Zoho One. And the reason they moved to Zoho One is not because the old apps necessarily worked badly, but as Steve explained to me, they were too siloed and didn't communicate with each other. So another quote from Steve is, before Zoho One, our process was chaotic and detached. We had some good solutions, but they were too siloed and it wasn't sustainable for growth. And something that I'd like to note here is that Inform Ag still use Slack and they still use Xero. And they have integration set up within Zoho One to Xero so that the staff's time tracking within expense and projects is sent to Xero so that they can all be paid for their time. Now, moving on to how Inform Ag actually use the applications within Zoho One, they use quite a lot. So CRM, projects, expense, and analytics are the four big ones that they use. So CRM, they use as you would normally use a CRM. Their sales leads convert and get nurtured to become a deal. They use a number of automation tools within the CRM as well. And they also have it linked to Zoho projects so that all of the project information is shown in the CRM for that client or that account and vice versa. An interesting out of the box way that they use Zoho CRM is that one of their suppliers based in the US happens to use Zoho One as well. So they've actually been able to set up an internal process to export a report that sort of contains the necessary fields that that supplier needs. And they do that every week. And it actually maps to their supplier's CRM. So all comments and updates on those fields get carried over every week for both Inform Ag and their supplier. So it's basically like a mirrored view of those necessary fields. They use projects as a project management tool. They track, like I said before, they track the project against the budget. And they also have an internal project that sort of acts as a to-do list. And they did say that once they get Desk working a little bit better, they plan to use that as their activity tracking internally. And they also have multiple external contractors working in projects as well. So they use expense as well. They use that heavily. They use the trips feature within expense so that the team can apply for travel expenses and travel time. Then it also connects with projects to track the expenses against the project, and that is also shown in CRM as well. So then with analytics, they use analytics as a core operational dashboard so that they can see timesheet entries against each account and all expenses logged for each team member and client account is shown in those dashboards as well. They did mention that eventually they would like to set up a dashboard per account and per product so that they would be able to see all of the tasks in projects, all of the notes from CRM, all of the tickets from desk, according to each account or each product, which I think would be really cool to be able to see that information. So similar to Pedleys Solar, they used Zoho Meeting during lockdown for their internal Monday meeting. They also used forms for their internal meeting notes. And before the use of expense, they used forms for travel requests as well. So Assist, they only used a few times during COVID as remote training and support for their clients. But Jared did mention to me that it has opened up the ability for them to be able to do that in the future so that they can actually reduce their travel costs a fair bit. They are using Zoho Books as well as Xero, which is the third party app we mentioned. They use Books to track trips, expenses, and reports for travel. And they upload the receipts through the mobile app, and they have Xero integrated with Zoho Books as well. So then with Desk, I think they're just getting started using Desk at the moment as a replacement for Zendesk, getting the knowledge base and internal activity tracking as well. So they've also used campaigns, sending newsletters and sending any software updates that their software has. They send that information to their customers as well, and sign for sales contracts and some other important documents. And they have a few others that they want to roll out in the future. I think inventory and also Zoho bookings. And another quote from Jared is knowing that we can use these apps in the future is really valuable. And I think that sort of just summarizes the core idea of Zoho One is that we give you all of these applications, but we recommend you sort of choose a really important process to start with. And then you always have these other applications to add on in the future. Okay, so from all of everything that I've said, you can really see that Zoho One can be the operating system for business. Now, there's really more to Zoho One than what I've just mentioned. So I'd definitely recommend downloading that handout that I mentioned before and clicking on the Zoho One webinars link. There's a bunch of recordings from the US team um, on there as well that, really break down specific processes in detail. So if you have anything specific you want to learn about. And then I'll also put our email on a slide in a second so that you can email us if you have any other questions as well. Um, then, if you want to learn about more events like this, I believe this is actually the wrong link. There should be an AU in there, but my colleagues will post that in the chat in a second. So this is the last of the 5 webinars, but we hope to continue running these in the future on different topics. So something like email marketing or maybe something to do with branding or social media. Or if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave us some comments in the survey that I'll talk about soon. So like my colleague Lauren posted in the chat, I would definitely recommend you schedule a free consultation with our concierge team. They are not a sales team. They're designed to help you answer your questions as it relates to your business circumstances in terms of your use of Zoho One. Okay, so as I said, all of those links here on this page and also that have been posted in the chat are available on the handout. A reminder that we would be so happy and appreciative if you took our survey. We really do read everything that you say and value all of the responses. It just helps us create, bigger and better webinars and events like this in the future. So thank you all so much for coming. Here's our email that you can email us at. And also, if you wanted to contact me directly in terms of a customer advocacy opportunity, which is like the case studies that we mentioned, my email is actually on the handout as well. And now, if you have any questions, I can answer those now. I know there were a few questions that my colleagues answered as well. Hopefully, I gave you a good enough overview of all of the things that, or not all of them, but some of the things that Zoho One can help you accomplish. There's definitely, like I said, there's definitely a lot more. I would definitely recommend checking out the main Zoho One webinar. I think it's called Introduction to Zoho One. And there's one done by me that you can find on YouTube as well. Okay, I think that looks like there's no more questions. Definitely, we'd love for you to please fill out the survey. On that survey, you can also tell us what you want to hear about in the future, and we'll definitely take that feedback on board. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, wherever you are, and a great rest of your week as well. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We really appreciate you being here.